The city was alive that night, pulsing with the kind of restless energy that only comes after midnight. Neon signs flickered, casting their glow across rain-slicked streets, and the air smelled of wet asphalt and distant cigarette smoke. I was behind the wheel of my taxi, a beat-up yellow sedan that had seen better days, cruising through the downtown maze. The radio crackled with soft jazz, barely audible over the hum of the engine. It was just another shift, or so I thought. I'd been driving for about 6 hours, picking up the usual crowd, drunk college kids, tired waitresses, and the occasional businessman too cheap for a private car. My name's Jack, by the way. I've been a cabbie for 3 years, long enough to know the city's rhythm but not so long that I've lost my sense of curiosity. Most nights, it's routine, point A to point B, small talk, maybe a decent tip if I'm lucky, but that night, everything changed. It was around 1 a.m. when I saw him. He was standing under a street lamp at the corner of 5th and Maple, his silhouette sharp against the dim light. He was tall, dressed in a dark overcoat, collar turned up like he was hiding from the world. His face was half-shadowed, but there was something about the way he stood, calm, almost too calm, that made me pause. He raised a hand, and I pulled over, tires splashing through a puddle. He slid into the back seat without a word, the door shutting with a soft thud. I caught a glimpse of him in the rearview mirror, mid-30s, maybe, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that seemed to see right through you. He carried a small leather bag, clutching it tightly against his chest. "Where to?" I asked, keeping my tone light, professional. "East Side," he said, his voice low, clipped, "corner of 12th and Harbor." I nodded and pulled into traffic. The East Side wasn't exactly the safest part of town, but I'd been there plenty of times. No big deal. I flicked on the meter and glanced at him again. He was staring out the window, his fingers drumming lightly on the bag. Something about him made the air feel heavier, like the calm before a storm. "So, you from around here?" I tried, just to break the silence. He didn't answer, just kept staring out the window, his jaw tight. All right, I thought, not a talker. I turned up the radio a bit, letting the saxophone fill the void. We drove past bars and late-night diners, the city's heartbeat thumping around us. Everything seemed normal, until I noticed the flashing lights. They appeared in my side mirror first, red and blue, cutting through the darkness like a warning. A police car, maybe 2 blocks back, weaving through traffic. I didn't think much of it at first. Cops were always patrolling this part of town, but then I heard the siren, sharp and insistent, and my stomach twisted. The lights were getting closer, fast. I glanced at my passenger. He was still looking out the window, but his posture had changed, rigid, like a coiled spring. His hand tightened around the bag, and for the first time, I noticed a faint sheen of sweat on his forehead. "Looks like the cops are in a hurry," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't respond, but his eyes flicked to the side mirror. The police car was gaining, now just a block away. I could see 2 of them now, their sirens blaring in unison. My heart started to pound. I'd never been chased by cops before, but I'd seen enough movies to know this wasn't good. You in some kind of trouble?" I asked, half joking, hoping he'd laugh it off. "Keep driving," he said, his voice like steel. "Don't stop." My grip tightened on the wheel. "Look, man, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just a driver. I don't want any trouble." "Drive," he repeated, and this time, there was an edge to his voice that made my skin crawl. He leaned forward slightly, and I caught a glint of something metallic in his hand. A knife? A gun? I couldn't tell, but it was enough to make me shut up and focus on the road. The police cars were right behind us now, their sirens deafening. I could see the officers' faces in my mirrors, grim and focused. One of them leaned out the window, shouting something into a megaphone, but the words were lost in the chaos. My mind raced. Was this guy a fugitive? A bank robber? Worse? I had no idea who I'd let into my cab, and now I was caught in the middle of something I didn't understand. I took a sharp left onto a side street, hoping to lose them in the maze of alleys. The tires screeched, and the man in the back seat braced himself against the door. "Faster," he said, his voice low but urgent. "I'm going as fast as I can," I snapped, my nerves fraying. The alley was narrow, lined with overflowing dumpsters and graffiti-covered walls. The police cars followed, their lights bouncing off the brick buildings. I could feel the adrenaline pumping, my hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. "Who are you?" I demanded, glancing at him in the mirror. "What did you do?" "Doesn't matter," he said, his eyes locked on the road ahead. "Just get me to harbor." I wanted to argue, to pull over and kick him out, but the glint of metal in his hand kept me quiet. I wasn't a hero. I was just a guy trying to make a living. So I drove, weaving through the alleys, my heart hammering in my chest. The police were relentless. One of them pulled up alongside us, and I could see the officer gesturing for me to stop. I didn't know what to do. If I stopped, would this guy hurt me? If I kept going, would the cops think I was in on whatever this was? I was trapped, caught between a dangerous stranger and the law. "Take the bridge," the man said suddenly, pointing toward the river. "Lose them there." The bridge was a few blocks away, an old steel structure that spanned the city's murky river. It was a risky move, narrow, with nowhere to hide, but I didn't have much choice. I floored the gas, the engine roaring as we sped toward the bridge. The police cars stayed close, their sirens a constant scream in my ears. As we hit the bridge, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Up ahead, 2 more police cars were parked across the road, forming a blockade. Their lights flashed, and I could see officers standing behind them, weapons drawn. There was no way through. "Stop the car," the man said, his voice eerily calm. "What?" I glanced at him, incredulous. "They'll arrest you. They'll arrest me." "Stop the car," he repeated, and this time, I saw it clearly, a small pistol in his hand, pointed at the back of my seat. I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop just short of the blockade. The police were shouting now, their voices overlapping in a chaotic blur. "Hands up, get out of the vehicle." I raised my hands, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. The man in the back seat didn't move, he just sat there, staring straight ahead, his grip on the bag tighter than ever. "Get out," one of the officers yelled, his gun trained on the car. I turned to the man, my voice shaking. "Look, man, whatever you did, it's over. Just, don't do anything stupid." For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then, to my surprise, he let out a soft laugh. "Stupid," he muttered, like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. He opened the door and stepped out, his hands raised, the bag still clutched tightly. The police swarmed him immediately, tackling him to the ground. I sat frozen, my hands still in the air, watching as they cuffed him and dragged him toward one of the cars. One of the officers approached my window, his expression hard but not unkind. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, barely able to speak. "I didn't know. I managed. I just picked him up." The officer studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Stay here. We'll need a statement." As they took the man away, I caught a glimpse of his face one last time. He was looking right at me, his expression unreadable. Then he was gone, shoved into the back of a police car. It wasn't until later, after hours of questions at the station, that I learned the truth. The man's name was Victor Kane, a wanted criminal linked to a string of high-profile heists across the state. The bag he'd been carrying contained stolen diamonds, worth millions. He'd been on the run for weeks, and I just happened to be the unlucky driver who picked him up. I went home that night, my hands still shaking as I unlocked my apartment door. The city was still alive outside, oblivious to the chaos I'd just been through. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, those cold, calculating eyes staring back at me. I still drive a taxi, but I'm more careful now. I check the rearview mirror a little more often, and I don't pick up just anyone anymore. Some nights, when the city's quiet and the streets are empty, I think about that night, about how close I came to something I didn't understand, and I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't stopped the car.